Hey everybody! Well, this week we are going to take our Moke and turn it from a little golf cart into a real electric vehicle by changing out the old golf cart batteries to a brand new lithium battery that is going to make this thing so much better you aren't going to believe it. So let's get started.
Whoa! This is fast!
We're Douglas and Esperanza, and we decided to leave our lives in the U.S., sell almost everything we own, and move to Baja California Sur, where we decided to start a resort in the magical town of Loreto, Mexico. Please come with us to follow our journey and live before you die. When we went up to the US, we got a kit to convert the Moke right out there to a lithium ion battery. And we got the battery, which is right here, and also a full kit of all the parts to convert this to. The batteries that are in there are not in great shape at all. They are AGM or aluminum glass mat, I think, batteries. And whoever had this Moke before us, I do not believe did correct recharge cycles. I don't think they really took care of the batteries. So the batteries are not in good shape. They only charged about 30%. So the two pre-work things that we had to put in here on the Moke, one is the battery charging port that I had to place somewhere, and the other one is this is like the battery gauge that right now it's built into the speedometer, and we don't want that. We want a new battery gauge. So to go right here, it's actually a good place for it. It fits really nice, and so I got the hole drilled for that, and that is ready to go. And the charge port is the other one. Now, the original charge port is in a horrible location as far as my opinion goes. I mean, I don't know what they thought. They thought, well, we wanted to hide the fact that this is an electric vehicle or something. I don't know. But they hid the charge port all the way down under here. See it? And let me, we're actually charging right now. So here's the charge port. There's actually even an indicator for the original thing of the state of charge, but it isn't hooked up anymore because it has a different kind of battery charger. But this is very inconvenient. It also, to me, is a horrible placement because water is going to spray up here and off the wheel. It doesn't seem like a very good idea at all. Now, it is close to the battery, but other than that, it's a kind of a crappy location. So we are going to locate the charge port right here. Then it's easily accessible right where we need it. And I just put this in here. I'm going to have to drill a side hole for this. This is the little piece here that holds the cover. And I need a side hole for that because that doesn't fit into the regular hole. But this will put the charge port right here. Super easy, just plug into it and it'll be a much better location. Now that we've got those holes drilled, we've got this is the charge controller and the charger. This is the 12 volt converter. So this is for the radio and any other 12 volt items that we're going to put in the car, which some of the lights are 12 volts. I think the headlamps are 12 volts and all that. And there's not much else to it. There's this bracket, which I'm not sure exactly where it goes yet. They don't have any specific instructions for the Moke, so they just send you the stuff and you got to figure it out yourself. I believe this is labeled as a battery bracket. So I think it has something to do with mounting the battery, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll have to see when we take the other batteries out and try to put this in. Right now, this system, there is a charge controller here. The problem here is this bracket that they have is horrible. So you can see this is bolted right down to the frame. That's good. This charge controller is mounted on a bracket that has no support front and back. So when you drive, look at this. When you drive and you go over bumps, then this thing sits here and goes around, makes a bunch of noise. It's a horrible, horrible design, and it annoys me to no end. It shakes around so much that all the brackets broke on it, on this battery charger, and I put new screws all down through there to try to keep it secure. So I will be taking that out. I believe I'm going to be able to take this bracket out altogether and mount both the charge controller and the 12 volt just directly down to the bottom. And then we won't have to use this bracket at all. I used my oscillating saw with a metal blade to cut out a little slot here that will house this lanyard. And that should go just like that. Now, this is a very poor design. The lanyard sits right next to this hole. And if you're going to cut out a slot around this lanyard, that hole is unusable. So, come on guys, whoever designed this thing, you need to think about that a little more. Okay, I'll show you a little trick I use when I am trying to do spray paint, but I don't want to do overspray. I don't want to do this all off. So I'm going to make brush paint out of spray paint. So I get a little cap. This is a little cap from a medicine bottle. Then I can spray some paint into that cap. And now I have about a minute to use this paint right here. And paint it on. This is a paint and primer in one, and it's a pretty close match for this. And this I don't have to worry about too much because it's all going to be covered by this plastic cover that I have, the plastic flange that is on there, but I still want to get the metal covered so I don't get rust. Get it on the inside there. Still got some good paint here. And this paint is surprisingly and actually a really close match for this. And there it goes. Just like it was made for that. Perfect fit. All right. Good morning, everybody. Well, today's the day we're going to strip all of the old battery and battery charging stuff out of the Moke here, and we are going to start the install of the lithium battery system. So, first order of business, all this has to go. These batteries, the charger. Now I got this terminal and this terminal, which are the terminals that hook down to the batteries in the bottom. So there's 6 batteries hooked to these 2 terminals, and they're now sealed off so that we don't have to worry about it. Now we'll disconnect the little jumpers that go to each of these terminals on these batteries. I'm also putting the screws back in, and then taping over these terminals on these batteries, the terminals here, because if something metal, like I take this bracket off, it falls across these terminals, boom, you're going to have a big explosion. All right, I was interested in what these batteries actually weigh, so I grabbed my scale, and we're going to see how much these babies weigh. Computing. 75.5 pounds. All right, well, good thing I looked this up before I took apart more than I needed to. Like I said, there's no instructions on how to do this. There's no instructions of how to wire this up. You have to figure it out all yourself unless you have somebody else do the conversion for you. And there's no wiring diagrams or anything else that comes with the battery kit on how to wire it up. You have to figure it out yourself. So this is the motor controller. And that was pretty obvious. I was looking at it, I was like, what are these terminals? Well, these are the 3 terminals going down to the actual electric motor that runs the wheels. I have just spent the last hour like tearing everything apart. I had to tear out the speakers so I could see into the dash to see what components are back in there. Tear out the center console and the radio. Tear out the other speaker. All looking for the DC to DC converter, the 12 volt, well, the 60 volt to 12 volt converter, because I have this new converter that's basically a 40 to 90 volt to 12 volt converter. What I wanted to find is the old converter, because there has to be a 12 volt converter in here somewhere, and see if I needed to replace it or not. This may not even be needed, which it isn't needed really, because there is a 300 or there is a DC to DC converter, and it is mounted down here underneath. So there is the DC to DC converter, which is working just fine, and I confirmed that it is also up to 90 volts, and it is rated at 60 to 72 volts input, meaning it's rated to take up to 72 volts and the battery's 70 volts. So that converter should work just fine. That converter is bigger. That converter is 500 watts. This converter is only 300 watts. So I'm going to keep this as a spare if something goes wrong with that other converter, but I'm not going to replace it at this time. But I had to find it to make sure if it was some cheap little converter and it only went up to 60 volts or 65 volts, if I hooked it up to the 70 volts, then it's going to burn it up eventually. So that was a good find. Took a bunch of time. Now I feel confident that I know how to rewire this back together. So these, as I suspected, these 2 terminals here, which came off of the 60 volt battery terminals, are the, on the charger or on the motor controller, are the leads for the 12 volt converter. So those will go back on, and the leads from the new charge controller will go back on, And I also know how these battery leads are hooked up now. This goes through the EMO shutoff, and this is the black currently coming back from the other side of the batteries. So right now, this is the positive lead that would hook onto the new battery. It goes into the EMO switch, which is like an EMO, emergency off switch. Then it comes back out through that EMO switch to here, which is a positive terminal on the charge controller. So that means battery through the EMO to here. Then I have to wire the other side of the battery to this terminal here, which is a negative battery terminal on the motor controller. Right now, the negative terminal from these batteries went down into the batteries on that side, came back around the other side, up these batteries, and came out here. So this will go away. This will get pulled out when we pull out the old batteries. So we do not need that anymore. We do not need this anymore. This will go away when we pull out the leads for the other batteries also. So I now figured out everything. Actually, it's kind of good because I tore everything apart. And now I know where every component is and what it does. You've got the computer up here. You've got a little controller for the dash up there. I know where all the control boxes are, all the fuse boxes, all the little computer boxes in here. And so that makes me feel confident. I need to fix anything in the future, I can do it pretty quickly. So I guess just gave myself a crash course on Moke wiring and electronics. The good thing is you can see that electric vehicle is pretty simple compared to a gas vehicle. I mean, there are so many moving parts and so much stuff in a gas-powered engine. In here, it's basically a charge controller, which is to control the charging of the battery. A motor controller, which is controlling the motor going forward and backward and the speed of the motor. That goes down underneath to the motor right there, the electric motor. This also has a 12-volt electric power steering right there, and then the 12-volt converter is right there. And other than that, it's got standard hydraulic brakes. That's pretty standard. This is the fuse box and a computer, windshield wiper. This is a little stupid thing they put in here so it can like make vroom vroom sounds. This is a horn. That's about it. Then you get into here, you got this is for the stereo system. It's a little box in here. This is the controller for all the dash. You have the stereo in here. You have another box for the speakers over there. Windshield wipers. So that's pretty much I just showed you the entire operating system of this Moke in 2 minutes. So pretty simple, easy to work on. And now let's get this thing put back together. Now I know how to do it. All right. I actually didn't film it, but Esperanza and I just set this battery in there where it goes because I have to get the battery terminals adjusted. So this goes to the positive, so that will be fine. But I have to get from this negative terminal to this negative terminal. And the only cables that came off of these jumpers, that came off of these batteries that I have over here, are these jumpers. So I would need to make a jumper, which is a lot of money, and why would I do that when I already have a whole bunch of jumpers in here? Or I need to get one of these longer jumpers out. So there's a jumper here that goes from this location. It goes underneath the firewall into here and down to this first battery. that jumper should be long enough to go from here up to there, which means I need to get that jumper out of there. Okay, ran into another problem. I set this bracket up where I wanted the battery. I wanted it over towards the middle as much as possible to equal out the weight. And I went to drill this bracket, and it drilled right through and right into this power converter, this DC converter underneath. Now, I don't think it hit anything inside the DC converter, but it definitely threw a whole bunch of metal inside there. So now I got to take that thing off and get all the metal that might be in there out of it, and then remount it. Okay, I'm going to open this up. I took the last screw out. Right there's where I made the hole through it. Just a standard power converter. And right there you can see some debris that's in there. I'm going to get some compressed air and blow this thing out to make sure no more got in there. But that rattling around in there underneath that circuit board, that could have been catastrophic. All right, I'm going to get some compressed air, blow this out. And then I'm going to get some silicone. And I'm going to tape up this hole from underneath. Silicone it from the top. I'm going to use some good tape underneath and then some silicone on the top. This has a pretty nice O-ring in here to seal it up. Looks like it's pretty watertight, so I would just clean up that O-ring and then should be able to get this back together. Got it all cleaned out, got the gasket all cleaned up. Put a piece of tape over the hole I made. Then this will sit right back over here. It centers on these holes. That's good. And then I will fill the rest of this with silicone before I reinstall it. So it should be pretty waterproof still. Got the silicone on there. Actually, it's RTV silicone. The clear silicone that I was going to use was actually all hardened up. This is fine. This is RTV gasket maker silicone. Basically the same thing, just for making gaskets. So it will be perfect for filling this hole and making sure water doesn't get in there. All right, let's mount this back up so we can get back to work. We are working on getting the first side of the batteries out. We have jacked up the Moke 18 inches and propped it up. Then we took all the bolts out of this plate underneath here and are using the jack to hold this plate up. Now we're going to release the jack and see if we can lower these batteries out of here. They weigh 250 pounds, so.
And we have one not so safe jacked up thingy. And then we have one
Okay,
very
here we
safe.
go. I'm using this because it's hard to control this release, and I want to release it very slowly, so I don't want to have it just pop over. There we go. Let's tighten this up. Let's see how we're going. Okay. So we'll release this a little bit more. Okay. Hopefully there's enough extra cable in there?
I would guess there would be.
There should be, but... Yeah.
Good job.
Went a lot smoother than I anticipated. Again, just want to make sure we don't hit anything metal with the wrench. Take it off as soon as we can. Pull this off, and this is still connected to all the batteries on the other side, so it could short out. Now theoretically it shouldn't, because they're not connected to ground, I don't think, but they could be. So better safe than sorry. Okay. Okay. I got the negative cable pulled out, mounted in, and it's all ready to go to the battery. The positive cable is right here, ready to go to the battery. Now that I look at it with everything in here, this charge controller will fit right down in here if I take out this. Let me show you here. This flange, it was part of the original battery tray, but I don't need this part of the flange anymore. Now this is welded down to the bracket, but I should be able to cut out this edge of the flange, and that will give me room for this to mount down right here. Then this charge controller can be mounted securely to this pan instead of being sitting up on this wobbly bracket thing. All right, got the new charge controller mounted super tight here, and that will not be a problem. And now I don't have to worry about any rattling. are finally done. The entire install is complete. Everything is connected how I believe it should be connected, even though I had no instructions, no wiring diagrams, nothing. I think I figured it out right.
Think?
Well,
Just
there's
think.
a whole bunch of wires that aren't connected because I don't think I need them. But I think it'll be okay. It's just we have a battery that is basically a huge bomb, and if we hook it up wrong, nothing will go wrong. I'm sure it's got protections in there that won't like totally explode.
Are you sure?
No, that's why you're gonna tape this.
Yeah, from
So
way
that
back
so
here.
there'll be some evidence.
Okay, I'm standing way back here. I am not being near that.
Okay, so there's a push button here. Okay, and you can, I don't know if you can see or not, but there's a green LED around there.
Yep.
So the green is good because it's supposed to turn red if things are bad, if something's bad. But it's not connected to anything yet because I don't have the switch. So this is when the fireworks could happen.
Okay, wait.
Okay, this is how much I trust myself. I'm gonna get down here. Ready? Okay.
I heard something
Still
click.
green. So on the battery gauge, we've got 72.2 volts, and we are at 1% charged, which is about what I expected for this battery. So that looks correct as to what we should see. The next step is going to be to plug in the charger, see if this will charge. Battery disconnect. We're going to plug this in. So the battery is disconnected from this right now. The charger had come on. It is flashing green, red, green, red. Red, charging, red, green, battery error, yellow, COM error. Oh, I know what's happening right now. So let's shut this off and shut this off. I know what's happening. There is a CAN port. It's basically an I2C communications network for cars. I2C is communication network they use in computers for all the slow speed stuff to talk to each other in a server or computer. This is for cars, all the devices to talk to each other. There's supposed to be a connection between the battery and the charger, which I didn't connect. So we're gonna cut this video because I gotta undo a bunch of zip ties and everything to get the cable between the two, and then we'll try again. I got the communication cable. It's right here, and it's now connected from the battery over to the charger. So the charger was complaining it couldn't talk to the battery. All right, we're gonna do the second test drive now, because when I did the first test drive, the battery wasn't even charged. I'm lucky I didn't kill it because it was like at 1%, and it was already awesome at 1%. Now the battery is at 100%, and if it's 100 times more awesome than it was at 1%, we're probably gonna blast off into space when I hit the accelerator. So this could be awesome. That's why we're gonna film it. All right.
Oh.
I had a wiring mistake, and I work with the company who provide the battery, Eco Battery, and their engineers and technicians actually worked with me all yesterday. And then this morning, I figured it out. I figure most things out when I'm sleeping. And when I was sleeping, I woke up and I thought I figured out what was wrong, and I was right. So we fixed it, charged it, and now we're going to blast off. Esperanza is going to hold this.
Or $1,600 per
gosh.
person. All these people.
Let's get some of that AC going.
All right. Oh, I'm going to turn the radio off here. All right. Put it in reverse. I hit it really slowly because we don't want to go. AC and it just starts burning off in the gravel. I'm gonna wait till we get in the road. I don't want to like tear up our gravel.
Get a little squirrely.
Okay. We have guests arriving today.
Not here yet.
More last minute guests. Most of our last minute guests tend to be Mexicans on their summer vacations. And they usually book just a couple days ahead for the weekend. All right,
Oh gosh.
here we go.
Whoa. This is fast. What a difference.
Yeah, it is a big difference.
Oh my goodness.
We gotta watch out because of the trap here. Somebody dug a huge hole in the road. See the hole?
Oh. Yeah, I saw that earlier. Wow. And that rattle's going too.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
That rattle is definitely the bracket that I took out.
Good.
So, super excited now.
Mhm.
We are going. We have really good acceleration.
Yes.
And now this thing's like brand new. Probably even better than brand new.
I think it sits a little higher too.
It definitely sits a little higher. I'm going to do the trip to see how many miles we can get on this new battery charger.
Nice.
All right. Well, great success with the Moke battery change. And another huge project done. And we're got more coming. Whoa. So, thanks for watching. And never forget
To live before you die.